In a world where left is up and right is apparently wrong, do souls make sense of it all? Or at least have fun trying. Gear up, friends, for Chicken and the Dog.
Welcome to another episode of Chicken and the Dog. I am the dog, and with me, as always, is the guy that likes the other white meat.
What do you mean
the
by
chicken.
that?
What up, Doug?
It's hard to turn it down. High in protein, low in fat, but sometimes you need the fat.
I'm pro-fat, as you can see.
That's where flavor lives, my friend.
That's right. So, look, man, happy Thanksgiving, right?
Happy Thanksgiving. That's right.
This is Thanksgiving week. And what Thanksgiving week always delivers, and I know this is for tomorrow's show, but it always delivers rivalry week. And I said it correctly.
Said it correctly. It also delivers naps during some of those games that maybe don't mean as much to you, but they certainly provide a wonderful backdrop to snooze away those calories.
Pumpkin pie. That just happened. Look, man, let's get into this is our results show. But before we do, there's a lot of things that we could talk about that is in headlines, different players going this and Heisman hopefuls and so forth and so on. But we got a lot. There's a lot of games to go over. But before we go over there, I do want to talk about Lane Kiffin and what that's looking like right now, according to the sources. And I think he's even confirmed this, that his decision of where he's going to leave, or if he's going to leave, where he's going to go, what his future looks like, is coming after this weekend's Egg Bowl. Now, you and I have talked about this over and over and over for the last several weeks about where is he going to go. I think he still stays at Ole Miss. Now, I know that Ole Miss is saying that they will match anything, but the one thing that I heard that Ole Miss can't match, that Florida and LSU are offering, is not just a salary, but NIL money.
Yeah.
They're guaranteed you're going to have this much NIL money. And I don't know if Ole Miss has the capability of doing that or not, but I still don't think that changes his decision. His reputation was so tarnished from what happened at Tennessee, Oakland, and then USC, and he came to Alabama, got under Daddy Saban, started building that up a little bit better, went to South Florida, did a great job at South Florida, and now has gone to Ole Miss and has done such a great job at Ole Miss, not only with building that program and bringing them back, and really doing really well with the program as far as wins and stuff like that. But I think he's done a very good job about his reputation and who he is and his character. If he leaves a potential 10-2 playoff-bound Ole Miss Rebels and takes off, that is going to ruin him again. I think it's not a good look. And I don't think he goes because of that.
We differ a little bit. I still don't know if he goes. Simply because of the ownership that he's got to feel in what he's built there in Oxford, right? Like, he started building the Rebels back before NIL, in the beginning of what is this new transfer portal universe looks like. And that's when he was really starting to rebuild the Rebels football team. And then as those changes happened, as the evolution of the sport took place, he kind of rode that out better than anybody else. He was vocal about his feelings in the beginning, but he still played within the rules, like we've talked about, played within the rules, said, all right, well, I don't like it necessarily, but if this is the new environment in which we operate, then I'm going to operate, and I'm going to do it better than any of you. And he's shown that. He brings in a Jackson Dart. He brings in a Chambliss, who nobody, I think, had heard of before Lane Kiffin. And look at the success he's having. So I think that more money to make more and potentially better acquisitions in player personnel maybe provides him some better opportunities to continue to advance his career, his status as one of the where does he rank in the coaches of all time category at that point. Now, let me back up and say this. I think that if this had happened year 2, year 3 even, for Lane Kiffin in Oxford, then maybe it does leave yet another mark on his history. But he's in year what, 6 or 7, and I'm
Something
not
like
doing that
that.
whole 6-7 crap, but he's somewhere there in his tenure in Oxford. He's been there a minute, and he's been there quite some time in terms of how long coaches stay in an environment. Certainly, Oxford, Ole Miss fans everywhere want him to stay where he is. They want him to be their guy. They want to be the next dynasty in the SEC. But here's the reality. If that's what you want, money talks or championships walk. And Lane Kiffin, to do that in Oxford, to transform Oxford into an LSU, to transform Oxford into a Tuscaloosa, that's going to take some cash, y'all. So pony up if you want him to stay back.
Yeah, but you think he stays?
There's just something in me that thinks that I'll give you this. I think that it's likely a 50-50 split between his staying and his going. If he goes, I think it's LSU bound. I don't think Florida is really in the mix. I think that your ticket to championships is a lot shorter, maybe a one flight, no layover in LSU than it would be in Florida. There's a lot of work to do in Florida. And if it's same amount of money, LSU is your landing spot.
But what about the fact that Florida, a couple things. One, he coached in Florida, the state of Florida. So he does have some ties maybe to some high school coaches. I'll give him that. Florida has money. There's no doubt about that. But overall, the in-state recruits in the state of Florida far outweigh in-state recruits in the state of Louisiana. So does that give Florida any kind of leading edge? I don't know. Maybe.
I don't think so, simply because when you're recruiting for an Ole Miss, when you're recruiting for an LSU, when you're recruiting for Alabama, when you're recruiting for Georgia, schools that aren't Florida, basically, is what I'm saying here. Schools that aren't Texas, right? Where you've got this wealth of high school talent. You're not necessarily just recruiting within your state. It's important. You want to win your best at-home guys, but you're more concentrated on a region. And being at Ole Miss for, again, however long he's 6, 7 seasons, whatever it is, he's established that presence certainly within the region. And he has shown us something that isn't necessarily more important, but at least the equivalent is the ability to go in and recruit the portal. Now coaches have to be able to not only recruit high school talent like they once did, they have to recruit their own roster every year, and they have to be able to recruit in the portal every year. And Lane Kiffin has shown the ability to do that across all 3 fronts. So while it's important to bring in these valuable high school recruits, I don't think that that's the linchpin to success anymore.
You might be right on that. I mean, we are just playing in a way different landscape than we are. Does fandom have a play in A, recruits, or B, bringing in a Lane Kiffin? Because you would have to say that the LSU fan base is more rabid than I would say the Gator fan base, right? I mean, you and I've never been to Gainesville, so I do have a little bit of disadvantage of saying, really doing a complete comparison. I've been to Jacksonville, to the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. I've been to that game twice. But I'm gonna tell you, LSU fans, man, those guys are nuts. I mean, they're in it to win it. And so does that drive recruits? Does that drive a coach to want to change, want to come?
Absolutely. I mean, look, we're still doing campus visits with these guys. You're right. So if that didn't play a part, then there's no point in bringing these guys down on the sidelines and all right, well, recruits are going to be down there for this game, watching LSU take on whomever, watching South Carolina take on whomever. Um, if that were not still important. Now that said, the environment has changed. There's money involved. There's a paycheck associated, especially with these high level, 4 and 5 star guys that everybody wants. Okay, well, how much are you willing to offer? Like, what's the check going to look like, coach? And then also, these guys getting recruited, they're going to want to go to where their best opportunity is going to be for many of them, at least in their forecast for what their future holds, to get to the next level. So if you've got the opportunity to go to an LSU with a rabid fan base, with the money pipeline to buy not only to pay you as a player, but to say, look, we're in this to win the whole thing. So there's going to be a roster of talent around you secured by NIL funds. And oh, by the way, a Lane Kiffin at the helm. That's a pretty attractive visit right there. So again, I think they all play in pretty well together, and they all are a leg of that table to stand on.
Yeah, one of the other rumors that's kind of swirling around the Lane Kiffin and why he wants to wait until after the Egg Bowl is because it's being talked about, and I don't believe this, but if for some reason Alabama was to lose this weekend on the Plains, that definitely pushes them out of the playoffs. That's a 9-3 team. It's not a good look. They're already on. They're just barely in now. A win, I think, secures them in, but I think a loss bumps them out. A lot of people are saying that if Alabama loses to Auburn this weekend, then that would be 2 years in a row that DeBoer did not make it. Alabama will push DeBoer to go to Penn State. I think that's a stretch, but it could be that there might be a little bit of truth to that. And maybe, I mean, if you were in Lane Kiffin, would you want to go to LSU? Would you want to go to Alabama?
I mean, I saw that, but I also saw where, hey, South Carolina's got an opening for an offensive coordinator, and Lane Kiffin is awesome at that. So I
Yeah.
think I think both are equally as likely. I even with which I don't foresee, and we'll get into this more in the forecast show. I don't foresee Alabama necessarily dropping to Auburn, unless Deuce does what Deuce did, tease. But I don't necessarily see that happening. And if they do drop that game, if it's the thriller that it can be, that it has been in the past, I still don't think that they pulled the trigger yet to see Kalen DeBoer. Has he missed out on making the playoffs for 2 years running? Potentially, yes. But he's still taking over from a Nick Saban era. There's still a transition that has to take place, and he hasn't done it with a lot of mud on his face at this point. It's not like they've been falling all over themselves trying to remember what are you supposed to do with this oblong ball. Like, they're still playing really good football. They have still been mentioned not only by us, but by other commentators, including on the Mothership Network there, of probably being one of the best teams, if not the best team in football. So he's doing all the right things with the exception of making it into the playoffs yet. So I look for Kalen DeBoer to still be in Tuscaloosa next year.
I do too. One, because I really don't believe that they're going to lose to Auburn. I really don't. Uh, but we shall see. It's always one of those goofy games for sure, right? But I don't know, man. I guess we'll know Lane's future in 4, 5, 6 days.
That's right.
Look, let's get into these games, man. Let's go into the top 25 first. A number one, Ohio State. They were 10-0 at the time, had to take on an average Rutgers. Average. And I don't think this is any clear indication. I don't think. But Rutgers, They hung with Ohio State the first half, man. I mean, it was 14-3 going into halftime. Ohio State came out in the second half and did what Ohio State's been doing all year, but they beat them 42-9.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is Ohio State doing exactly what we thought they were going to do, not necessarily working harder than they needed to on Saturday. This was probably for the Buckeyes a foregone conclusion. Julian saying 13 of 19, 157 yards and 2 touchdowns. And Mr. Jackson, number 25 for Ohio State, 110 yards on 19 carries and 2 touchdowns of his own. They cruise to victory.
Absolutely. This next game, I think we both got it right. I said I think you need to watch out for this team, but I mean you're never gonna say this team is gonna win anyway. But a number 15 University of Southern California took on a number 7 Oregon, the Fighting Landings, and look, man, Oregon beat them 42-27. It wasn't really that exciting. Oregon had that game the whole time. Dan Lanning's done a great job with that program, really elevated themselves. And I would watch out for Oregon in the playoffs for sure.
Absolutely. They're a strong team. And like I said in the forecast show prior to this week, the thing that catches my attention most about Oregon is that they've not been flashy all year, but they have been winning all year. 10-1, taking it over against that other school in California and putting them in their place in the Big Ten. Watch out for Oregon. They are a real football program.
Absolutely, man. This next game, man, for me, I know that they started out 0-2. I get that. And I know who they lost to. They lost to Miami, then they lost to Texas A&M, which, depending on which week Carson Beck shows up, Miami can be a very dangerous team. And A&M's still undefeated, so there's your argument there. But since then, Marcus Freeman and Jeremiah Love and this new quarterback that they have, man, has really found their groove. And with this game, if you ask me, solidified themselves as a true playoff contender. And that's a 9-2 Notre Dame, man, had to take on Syracuse, and they beat a Syracuse team. Now, Syracuse, middle of the road team. They're now 3-8. So yeah, they're not killing it. I get that. But they beat them 70-7. Not a good look for Syracuse, but a great look for Marcus Freeman and the Fighting Irish.
Absolutely. An honorable mention here for Dog of the Week to Jeremiah Love. 171 yards on 8 carries.
Nasty.
3 touchdowns. Almost half of the time he touched the ball, he scored with the ball. I mean, this is just a ridiculous outing by this young man, and he didn't even have to do that much. But 70-7, that will ruin your weekend in upstate New York. But it was a great one to be had in South Bend, Indiana for the fans of the Fighting Irish. And it is a statement victory. Syracuse has those teams where one year they're a challenger in the ACC and the next year they're not so much. This is one of those not so much years for the Orange, but Notre Dame comes out and not only gets the victory, but goes ahead and makes a statement at the same time. Big win for the Irish.
Big win, man. This next game, I think both of us got this one wrong. A number 11 BYU, they were 9-1 going into this game, had to go to Cincinnati, Ohio to take on a really good. They were 7-3 Cincinnati. And we thought being in Ohio, Cincinnati playing great football. They've had some good wins this year. We thought it was an upset for BYU, and we were wrong, man. BYU beat them 26-14. I mean, they have not secured their spot yet, but a win against Texas Tech in the conference championship could.
Well, and I'll be honest, I only pay so much attention to BYU. One of the things that caught me by surprise in this win was the way in which they did it. The running back for BYU, Martin, 32 carries. 32. BYU to me is always a throwing, passing football team, pro style oriented offense. 32 carries. That is a dedication to the run game. That's not just, hey, this is working a little bit. That is a dedication to the run game. 52 yards and 2 touchdowns on the afternoon as the Cougars, that's right, I'm going to call you the Cougars this week, beat the Bearcats 26-14. They dictated this game. They weren't just coming out to outscore you. They were coming out to control this game, keep the ball out of Cincinnati's hands. And they did that in a pretty effective way, 26-14.
Was there any innuendos when you reference them as the Cougars?
None whatsoever, just not going by their typical religious affiliation on this show.
All right, look, so a number 12, Utah had to host a Kansas State. We actually said that we thought Utah was going to win this game, but we thought it could be close. K-State's always been one of those sneaky kind of teams. And, man, they was close, man. It was 51-47. There was 98 points scored in this game. That's crazy.
Yeah, hope you picked the over on that one. But another great game, two Big 12 schools just slugging it out. Utah still clinging to hope that they're going to somehow get worked in there. Utes, don't think it's going to happen. Nice try. You'll get a nice bowl game out of it, but it ain't going to be playoff oriented. But Utah, again, making a nice statement win and hopefully providing opportunity for some other players to take a hard look at Utah as the real deal in the Big 12 and maybe next year.
Yeah, that line comes up quite a bit, doesn't it? Maybe next year. But look, was this the week of the running backs? Look at Utah or Kansas running back in this game, man. 24 carries, 293 yards. He almost broke 3 bills. Good gracious.
And 3 touchdowns. So no slouch effort there. Yeah, this was one of those weeks where you just, instead of being blown away by a quarterback's numbers, we're getting blown away by running backs.
Yeah, I mean, we had the kicker field goal guy a couple weeks ago. Now we've got the running backs.
That's right.
Next week's going to be the tight ends.
Or the head coaches.
Yeah, it could be. So number 13, Miami, the Fighting Becks, took on a struggling with a now have a coach, Virginia Tech, the Fighting Franklins. We've got a new Fighting Franklins, Virginia Tech. And look, man, Miami beat them. Carson Beck showed up. Miami beat them 34-17. Good look, Carson Beck.
Yeah, good look, Carson Beck. And he did exactly what we said he was going to need to do, which was throw it to the correct jersey. And he did that for 320 yards and 4 touchdowns. So good job, big guy. I don't know what they did. Change your contact lens. Reminded you that y'all were wearing white hats. I've got no idea what the secret sauce was on Saturday, but it worked. Try and replicate that next week, will you?
Keep doing that.
Keep doing that. That's right.
Man, I watched this game, man, and it was really fun to watch. So a unranked but yet really good Pitt, man, had to go to Atlanta and take on a number 16 at the time 9-1 Georgia Tech, and it went back and forth. My God, Pittsburgh opened up with 21 points in the first quarter, and Georgia Tech tried to do that comeback. They were trying hard, man, but Pitt ended up prevailing, man, beat them 42-28. Whew, what a game.
Yeah, Pittsburgh is making a surge. Too bad that they couldn't make more of one against the Irish a couple of games ago, but absolutely a huge win against Tech. You've got to feel bad, or at least I certainly do, for the Ramblin' Wreck. Got off to such a hot start, but now things kind of seem to be leveling out for him a little bit. Haynes King, still a great player. Love this kid. 257 yards, 2 touchdowns from the quarterback there at Georgia Tech, but nowhere near enough as Pitt came out to not only make a statement, but make a statement in a big way. Beating Georgia Tech in Atlanta, huge win.
See, I'm not one of these people that doesn't like the Fighting Nerds because they're an in-state rivalry, right? I don't care. I actually think Georgia Tech as a school is one of the best schools in the country, especially if you want to go an engineering route. I mean, they are just ridiculous in their academics. There's no doubt, and they're decent in sports. There's no doubt about that. I don't root against Georgia Tech unless they're playing Georgia. I did find myself rooting against them on this game right here because I think with a win, if Georgia Tech would have won this game, they would have been elevated. They were with a win. They were in the ACC championship game. With the win there, guaranteed a spot in the playoffs. A loss here really, there's a lot of crazy things that have to happen for them to get in now into the ACC championship. I think that deflates the team a little bit, kind of gives them that little, and with that, I think that helps Georgia go in Friday and handle business against Georgia. I think it helps Georgia and their game this Friday against Georgia Tech. That's why I was rooting against them.
I got you. I hear you. And you never know how things like this are going to affect a team. Are they really kind of on a downward trend where maybe they're running out of gas in the tank, or defensive coordinators are just really figuring out how to hold these guys within a certain point total that they can overcome that with their own? I don't know. It's going to be an exciting holiday weekend for sure.
Absolutely. And look, this next team I'm going to talk about has a massive game coming up that could be pretty intriguing if you ask me, man. And there's a lot of implications in that. And we'll talk more about that in the forecast show. But look, at number 18, Michigan, at the time, they were 8-2, had to take on they were 4-6, a middle of the road type team with Maryland. And Michigan handled business, man, beat them 45-20. They were playing in Maryland. This is a must win for Michigan, and they pulled it out. Get ready for next week with this team, man, or this week.
Yeah, absolutely. Get ready for next week. And I had a strong feeling, right, that the Wolverines were going to handle business on Saturday, and they did. But Maryland was able to give them a fight. I mean, 45-20 from a Maryland team that's, kind of average performed this year, if you want to give them the benefit of the doubt. But they come out and they put 20 on for Michigan to show some fight here at the half. It is 21-10. That's by no means already a loss. Your ticket's not punched yet. But Maryland continues to roll and Michigan continues to roll and takes care of Maryland on Saturday, and putting them in a really good spot momentum-wise as they head into the big game against Ohio State.
Yeah, Bryce Underwood he's playing pretty good football, man. So this is going to be a really interesting game come Saturday. No doubt about that. We got this one wrong. I'll just admit it. We're going to start there. I thought for sure the Fighting Curtises were going to handle business pretty. I thought it was going to be a pretty easy win. The Badgers have not looked good all year long, but a number 21 Illinois, number 21 at the time, make sure I get that out there, had to take on a struggling Wisconsin in Wisconsin. And not only did Wisconsin win the game, but they won it pretty handedly, man. 7-10. Beat them by 17 points. That's right. I can do math.
There you go. And I'll tell you this, another running back, Dupree for Wisconsin, 17 carries, 131 yards, and 2 touchdowns. This guy's another honorable mention this week for an award. The honorable mention for the Gooch of the week. Didn't quite make it. He got beat out. Drum roll, please. We'll tell you later. But a great win for Wisconsin, trying to salvage whatever they can out of this season. One more win still won't get them into a bowl game. But hey, you're not the only one, Badger fan. I know that pain. But it's one of those deals where there's nothing to win, nothing to lose, but everything to play for. And that's what they did. They put it all out on the line against Illinois on Saturday.
Put his team on his back.
His team definitely rode that Badgers back into the end zone twice.
That's right. And I think you and I had this game. We actually called this game right, man. So a 6-4 Texan Christian University out of Fort Worth, Texas, had to take on another team in the great state of Texas, a number 23 Houston. Houston at the time was 8-2. We said, watch out for the Horned Frogs. We thought that they had the ability to win this game, even though it was in Houston, the hottest place on earth. And they did, man. TCU beat them 17-14. It was a well-fought game.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, the entire state of Texas is hot. So I don't take anything away from TCU being able to take on Houston in that heat. It's just maybe a little warmer compared to what they're normally used to. But yeah, they're able to hang on and win that one and knock off a then ranked 23 Houston. It'll be interesting to see what happens as the new rankings come out. But yeah. It's been an interesting fight this year in the standings in the Big 12. There isn't a situation where in the past you've got maybe two teams that really stand out in the Big 12 and you're like, yeah, okay, the rest isn't really all that competitive. Instead, it's almost flip-flop, and you've got a couple teams at the bottom of the conference where nobody's really talking about anymore unless you happen to have a coach that wears a big cowboy hat named Dion. But other than that, it's been a dogfight for who's going to be on top and who's going to be left out in the Big 12.
Really has, and it's not so much who's going to take that number one position. I mean, I think Texas Tech has solidified that that they are the best in the Big 12. But that number 2 spot, oh my gosh! I mean, you've got 4, 5, 6 teams that are fighting for that thing right now. So you're right. I mean, it's really kind of flipped this year. Look, I had a good buddy of mine, man, Dave. We were in Houston together one time, man, and not together, but we were there in person together. Let's just say that. Let me clarify something. I don't want no rumors starting about the Dawg.
Or Dave.
Or Dave. Yeah, I don't really care. No, I'm just playing Dave. I love you, buddy. But anyway, it was hot, man. It was the middle of summer, man. I mean, it was just brutal. And he goes, Jerry, I have stood on the equator, and it's hotter in Houston than the equator. So I'm telling you, man, Houston, the hottest place on earth. It's awful.
Houston, you have an air conditioning problem.
For sure. No, they have a concrete problem.
Well, there's that.
It's all concrete, that place. Anyway, let's move on. I digress on this. A number 24 Tulane had to host, a struggling kind of middle of the road again, Temple. And Tulane did what they needed to do. 37-13. Tulane is is that group of 5 team that everybody's saying could take on. I guess that will happen. It won't happen after this week. It's really going to find out after the conference championships of who that group of 5 team is going to be that's going to take on that one playoff spot.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing that makes Tulane different at this point is we've seen the rise and fall of other teams, South Florida, Memphis, come and go in the ebb and flow of the season. But Tulane seems to have found that sweet spot. They just need to keep doing what they're doing.
Absolutely. And look, I mean, and I don't know if Tulane is that team that, could beat a South Florida, could beat, a Memphis or whatever. I don't know. I mean, we all know that Memphis is a great program. South Florida is a great program. That coach at South Florida is one that everybody's speculating is going to get elevated to a new position, a new team this year, and probably rightfully so. And even Memphis coach, I mean, we had someone on the show this year, man, that played at Michigan or at Memphis, and I mean Memphis has had a great program for quite some time. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. Last game in the top 25, it's outside the SEC. Number 25, Arizona State, playing great football this year, man. Had to take on the guy that wears the cowboy hat in the great state of Colorado, Neon Dion, also known as Coach Prime. And Arizona State handled business, man, 42-17. I don't know what's going on with Colorado. That now puts them at 3-8 on the season. Is he missing Travis Hunter? Is he missing Shador? Because Shador had a start this weekend, his first start in the NFL, and won. Is he missing that talent? I don't know.
I think a lot comes into play here, and there's a dichotomy afoot, and that is we talk a lot about coaches like Lane Kiffin who know how to ride the portal, who know how to manage what happens in this new era of college football. So no doubt in your mind that Lane Kiffin could stay at Ole Miss and continue to make the playoffs. No doubt in your mind that Lane Kiffin could go, I don't know, anywhere else and start winning right off the rip. Deion Sanders, I think, is a good coach. I'm going to go ahead. There, he's got a lot of people that come at him from all different. Oh no, he's not. He's this. He's a publicity stunt. Whatever. I think Deion Sanders knows more about football, has forgotten more about football
That's right.
than I'll probably ever know. But he's come into this Colorado program, and definitely, if no other thing has happened here, he's starting to bring in interest. And I don't just mean from a media standpoint; I mean from an incoming player standpoint. These guys want to come here and they want to play for him. He's put together a coaching staff that not only has coaching experience but has real world playing experience. They're having a down year. They lost a lot of talent after last season. I look for Colorado to bounce back next year. In step with all that, Deion, we all know this. He's had some ongoing health issues.
That's right.
I mean, look, the guy's human, and that's a distraction from your job. You want to do the best that you can, but you got this appointment and that appointment and this treatment and that thing going on. Like, my hat's off to Deion for really not taking a step back and saying, look, I'm still the head coach, but I'm going to let somebody else take the reins while I go over here and do this. He's managed to stay in the fight, not only for his own health, but for his team this year. And that doesn't take anything away from a coach that has to step away from a season because of health or familial issues. But Deion is sticking it all out there all the time for Colorado and the Buffalo football team. And I think that they're going to produce big things next season. Another wait till next year moment.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I do believe that Deion is a great coach. One of the things that Deion does, and he did it well as a player, and he's doing it well as a coach, is he does bring that spotlight on him, and now him and his program. He does it well. He does it better than anyone in the business, and it's not negative. The spotlight's never really negative. It's just, here I am. I'm a little flashy. I'm a little this or whatever. And it brings attention to them. Why? Same reason that, not to get political, but but our sitting president, some of the things that he does and says, especially during the elections, is he wants to stay in people's minds, people's thoughts. That's what Deion is doing. He wants to be relevant. He wants to stay in people's minds and think about him and talk about him and talk about him. Why? Because I think it helps him with recruits. It's going to probably help him with NIL money. And I'm with you. I see the Buffaloes doing way better next year than they did this year.
Absolutely.
All right, here we go. SEC, the mother conference. A struggling, coachless Auburn. They were 4-6 going into this game. Had to take on a 9-1. They hosted a 9-1 Mercer. I know everybody's going, but it's Mercer. No, let me tell you something. Mercer was 9-1. They were 9-1 going in there. They're not 9-1 because they're an okay team. Now, do they compare to an SEC caliber team? No, and Auburn should have won this game anyway, but they were still 9-1. Well coached, well-oiled machine Mercer. Auburn beat them 62-17. That, my friends, was a good look.
That was a very good look. You mentioned a coachless Auburn, it's one thing to have a struggling season and still have your head coach at the helm. And here we got a 9-1 Mercer coming into town. We need to take care of business. It's another to have all of that and no head coach. My friends, they did it and they did it well. 62-17. And yes, that's right. Your Gooch of the week, Deuce Knight. Who's that chicken, you say? I'll tell you, because he's only played one other time this season. The freshman, number 9 on your program, number 1 in your hearts, Auburn, Alabama. Deuce Knight, 15 of 20, 239 yards and 2 touchdowns. He ran the football for another 162 yards and put more points up on the board there. This young man is your Gooch of the week.
Look at this, man. You said he ran 162 yards and 4 touchdowns, right? On the ground. 9 carries.
9 times, 4 touchdowns. Wow.
Has Auburn found their guy?
No. Let's just go ahead and say no. I don't know. Here's the thing and again, this is one of those deals. He's a true freshman. This is only the second time he's gotten to play this year. Can Auburn get the right coach that can hold on to this guy? Because this kind of showing from a true freshman, maybe he doesn't want to hang around and see what Auburn can do under an average incoming head coach. Auburn needs to make a splashy hire to keep guys like Deuce on their roster for next season.
Lane Kiffin to Auburn. Not going to happen.
Not going to happen.
Look, man, and I like the kid's name, man. Deuce Knight. That's a great name.
Deuce. That's right.
I love it. Welcome, Deuce, a.k.a. Mr. Knight, to a wonderful group of young men and some older men. I think we've had some coaches get the Gooch. I think we've had some players that were in their 30s get the Gooch in the past. But you, my friend, have now become a member of a very select, tight, niche group that stick together. Don't come back.
Don't come back. And listen, I know that he did all this against Mercer. There's going to be that shadow that maybe hangs over this a little bit, but 6 total touchdowns. I don't think he's coming back. I think this kid is on to better things.
Yeah, let's see how he does this weekend in the Iron Bowl. All right, here we go. Georgia Bulldogs had to take on a cupcake team. They were 1-9 going in this game. A Charlotte in Athens, the motherland. Georgia is now 10-1. They beat them 35-3. Look, man, they handled this game as they should have. I think Georgia probably worked out a lot of stuff, especially in the second half. Gunner didn't really play much. One thing, and I'll say this, and Kirby does this well. I think he learned this from a Nick Saban most of the time. Kirby's never going to be that guy that's going to take a team like a Charlotte or a Mercer or a Samford, whoever, and hang 85 points on you. He's going to scale it back and not embarrass you. He's going to give you the nod to say, hey, thank you for the warm-up game. You were able to allow us to work some stuff out, but great job, Georgia. Get ready for Tech.
Yeah, the only thing that I've got to say is it a nod to the opposing team, like we're not going to embarrass you, or is it more like, cool, now we can play whoever we want? Has the 5th string punter seen action yet this year? I think that it's more of that, because at this point in the year, a team like Georgia, 10-1, they're looking at the SEC championship opportunity in front of them. They're looking at the playoffs. You don't want anybody, as best you can, to sit there with a lack of opportunity. You want every player on that roster that you expect to potentially touch the ball, especially in the crucial games coming up. Your rivalry game against Georgia Tech, the SEC championship game against whomever. The playoff-bound Dogs want to have executable plays with executable players on that field, and a team like Charlotte gives you the opportunity to just play just about anybody.
That's right. I mean, we all remember what happened to Carson Beck in the SEC championship game last year and how that affected us in the playoffs. I mean, yes, we won the game. Gunner came in and handled business, but that's a big ask for Gunner Stockton to have to start for the first time in a playoff game in the Sugar Bowl, man. That's a big ask without that experience. And so you're right. These type of games give those players an opportunity to get some time for sure. The number 3 team in the country, Texas A&M, the Fighting Aggies, had to host a 1-10 Samford. And I mean, we called it. We knew what was going to happen. A&M beat them 48-0. A&M is now 11-0.
11-0, looking pretty going up against the Longhorns this next week. Watch out. This was one of those games that I didn't necessarily feel it was going to be a trap game, but had the opportunity with the emotional high that Texas A&M was going to come into this one off of with such a dramatic, massive win the week before against the South Carolina Gamecocks, that this could have been a little bit of a letdown game. My friends, 48-0, they didn't let down anything. Marcel Reed let down 3 touchdowns over the Samford Bulldogs on Saturday, and then he went and let himself sit down. That was about it for Texas A&M in terms of a letdown performance. They handled business. They made this immediate, and they shut down Samford right out of the gate.
The question, this weekend, the game against, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but why it's on my mind, I figure I'll go ahead and say it because I'll probably forget it when we record the forecast show because I'm old. But Texas A&M, Marcel Reed, Elko, they have the ability this weekend to make Steve Sarkisian eat his own words. Or you can look at it the other way. Steve Sarkisian has the ability to make his statement reign true. And that is before the season started this year, Sark said, the days of an SEC team going undefeated are over. Well, my friends, A&M is knocking on that door.
Well, listen, we've said that. Senior Chief came on the show and said that. I think Nick Saban favors that mentality as well, that just the amount of competitiveness in this conference, the amount of overwhelming talent from the coaches down to the players in this conference is such that the likelihood of going undefeated is going to be exceptionally rare. It's exceptionally rare in the NFL too, although it has happened. This could end up being one of those moments where, okay, in the new era of the SEC, it could happen, and maybe it happens this year, or the Longhorns could send home some Aggies very upset.
I believe that this game is this game that's coming up this weekend is so big for Elko. In my opinion, I think Coach of the Year for the SEC comes between 2 players at this point right now, my honest opinion. And everybody's like, oh, you're probably going to say Kirby. You're probably going to say Lane Kiffin. No, I'm not. I'm actually not. Those are expectations from those 2 coaches because the programs that they've already built. But for Mike Elko to come out and do what he's done in A&M this year is pretty great. Clark Lee at Vanderbilt? Are you kidding me? If they beat Tennessee and A&M loses to Texas, I think he wins it. I mean, yeah, Diego Pavia, Bert, Ernie, whatever. I mean, as he play a big part of that, but you got to remember, Clark Lee's calling the plays. He's running the ship. He's steering the ship. And I don't care what kind of talent you have. If you don't have a good guy steering the ship, you're going nowhere, Jack. And he's doing a great job, man. This next game was, we were right to pick Oklahoma over Missouri. We got this game right. However, one of the things that we didn't know was that Missouri's starting quarterback was going to be back, and how that played. I think that played a difference in this game. I don't think he was back to full strength. However, Missouri kept this game close. A number 22, 7-3 at the time. Missouri had to take on an 8-2 number 8 Oklahoma. Oklahoma won 17-6. That pushed Oklahoma to 9-2. I'm telling you, Oklahoma is in a sweet spot, man, right now to have that. One of the best spots I think you can be when it comes to, they got to play LSU this weekend, I believe. That's a dumpster fire program right now. Oklahoma wins against LSU this weekend. They're in. They got it. They're in the playoffs.
Yeah, Brent Venables is doing an amazing job. He's another one that I would throw in there in potential coach of the year candidates in the SEC. We came into this season thinking that Oklahoma was not going to do well. It has traditionally not played out well when your head guy is also acting as your coordinator, either offensively or defensively. That's what Venables announced at the end of last year. I'm calling the defense now. And he's done that all season long. This game was a defensive victory. Yes, Prbula is back under center for this one. He throws 2 picks. They hurried him all afternoon long, 20 of 36 for 231 yards for Bo. They just never can get the offense going. They contain Ahmad Hardy after such a huge weekend the weekend before. This has Venables written all over this victory for the Sooners. If they can keep that going, which I have no doubt that they can against a struggling LSU team, then you're absolutely right. They're sitting in a pretty spot. And I think Venables puts himself in that running for Coach of the Year.
I think Eli Drinkwitz got the memo that this last weekend was the weekend of running backs. I think he missed that.
I think he overshot, and that's fine. It happens.
This next game, number 10 Alabama, they're now 9-2, had to take on an Eastern Illinois school for the homeless, and they beat them 56-0. That's all I got to say about that.
I know that there was a lot of anxious anticipation going into this game, especially for Alabama fans, that there would be enough opportunity for autograph sessions both before and after the game. That was about it. Am I going to be able to get my favorite player's signature on my jersey, my hat, or whatever foam finger I had purchased? That was about as worried as anybody got in Tuscaloosa on Saturday.
Absolutely. This next game, 2-8, Arkansas. Struggling, man. They have not won a game in the SEC at all this year. Had to roll and take on a number 17, 7-3 at the time. They were 4-2 in the SEC, Texas Longhorns. And the Longhorns handled business, man, 52-37. The thing that Arch had a good game. I'm going to give Arch had a really, really good game. But you know who didn't? Was Texas defense. They allowed not a good Arkansas team to put 37 points up, man. So I know Sark has come out and we belong in the playoffs. Shut up. No, you don't. You're a 3-loss team. There's so many things that would have to happen for anybody to legitimately say, yeah, Texas should be in there. It's not going to happen.
Well, we saw this play out last year, right? We saw this play out last year with 4 SEC schools sitting at 3 losses at the end of the year, and 3 of them chirping, one of them sitting quietly in the background, and all 4 left out of the playoffs. So yes, with 3 losses, Texas, with statute to go on, you're not getting in. You could bark about it all you want. Lane hollered about it last year. Beamer hollered about it last year. Kalen DeBoer hollered about it last year. And all 3 went to other bowl games. So that's what's going to happen to you. I will say this, Arch Manning, an honorable mention. He's finally worked his way up to an honorable mention for the Dawg of the Week. 389 yards and 4 touchdown passes. Are you kidding me? Great game from this young man, the type of game that we were all expecting from the very beginning. It is in an SEC contest. It doesn't matter. Well, it matters, but it's not an overriding factor that Arkansas is struggling so much this year. They're still an SEC school. They put 37 points up on the board. They've demonstrated throughout the course of even this terrible year that they're having that they know how to score points. Texas holds them to enough. Arch puts up enough with the help of Washington and 105 yards on his back with the ground and another score there. But not quite the weight in this matchup that our Dawg winner had this week. But Arch Manning, way to show up, big guy. Great things ahead, I believe, for Texas, the Longhorns, and for Arch.
Yeah, I mean, you say it all the time. Wait for next year. Texas fans, Smoking D, wait for next year, man. I do think that Arch Manning could be a force to reckon with next year. He's finding his way. He's finding his feet. He's looking more and more comfortable under center. And, watch out. Arch's going to be – I think he's going to be pretty good next year. I wouldn't put him in that front runner for Heisman yet. They probably will, but I wouldn't put him there yet. All right, this next game, a number 20 Tennessee. They're 7-3, 3-3 in the SEC going into this game. They had to go to Gainesville to take on a struggling Florida Gator program, right? And Tennessee has not beaten. They have not won in Gainesville in like 630 years. So this was a big game for Tennessee. They wanted to solidify something, and my friends, they did. They beat them 31-11. Aguilar had a good game. DJ did not. So good look, Tennessee.
Yeah, and the difference between all of the other losses that Tennessee has suffered in Gainesville was that it wasn't against a Florida team that's struggling as much as these Gators are this year. We'll see, right? A lot's going to depend on who Florida lands as their next head coach as to what next year looks like. But Heupel and the Volunteers come in and grab a great win. I'm not going to call it a statement win because Florida is 3-8 now. But still a good win, a good conference win, 8-3 now and 4-3 in the conference for Tennessee.
Yep, absolutely. 4-7, South Carolina, or 4-7 now, had to take on a pretty good Coastal Carolina team. They've been playing pretty good football. And I know that you had reservations about this game. You thought that there was a chance that South Carolina could lose this game. I don't think you picked against them, but you said there's a chance. I said no way. I was right, man. Lenore Sellers and Shane Beamer, they did what they needed to do. They beat them 51-7. I think that was a much-needed win for Beamer. And I think it was a much-needed win for his program, because we talked about last week, man, what is he going to do with these recruits he's trying to recruit? What is he going to do with the people that he's got on staff? Is it Lenore Sellers going to leave next year? Is it Dylan Stewart going to leave? Is it Nick Harbor going to leave? What is going on in this program? He needed this win, and they came out big, man. The boys played for him, and that was huge for me to see.
Yeah, no, all those things. It was a big win for Carolina. They did what we expected that they would do at the beginning of the season. This is kind of what you expected South Carolina to play like in this game, but I think in a lot of other games that were on their schedule this year where they just continued to lay eggs. Lenore Sellers comes out. He has a good game, doesn't even have to play the whole time, and he puts up some pretty good numbers, 274 yards to the air, 2 touchdowns, another 82 yards on the ground, and 2 more scores to lead the Gamecocks in both of those categories. And they walk away 51-7 against the Chanticleers. I'll say this about Coastal Carolina. They play in the Sun Belt Conference, which, yes, is a group of others. I was going to say group of 5, but I think there's like 6 of them now. It's one of the other conferences. They're going bowling this year, and the South Carolina Gamecocks are not. So the Gamecocks, nothing to win, nothing to lose, but everything to play hard for. And they did that on Saturday. They put together a full 4-quarter game, not the first 2, and then let's hang it up against A&M. right? But they played all 4 quarters, and it showed with 51 points on the board.
Sure did. This next game, man, was wow. A struggling LSU, man. They were 6-4 going into this game. Had to host a pretty good team, man. They were 8-3 going, or they are now 8-3. They were 8-2 going into this game of Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky. This is one of those games that should be like the Mercers, like a Coastal Carolina, one of those warm up games, man. You work some things out, and LSU won, but it was 13-10. You desperately need a Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, I mean, the Hilltoppers come in and not only earn their paycheck, but doggone almost stole it from you. 13-10. I saw the ticker going in early on this game that it was 3-0, and I thought, you got to be kidding me. Van Buren, 25 of 42. You got to have a better ratio than that, my friend. 202 yards and 1 touchdown for LSU. This game is in Baton Rouge, and you let not only an away team, but you let an away team from a lesser conference come in and go toe-to-toe with you, slug it out, and you won in the final round. Wow.
In your house.
In your house, in Death Valley, a lot needs to happen for LSU to hang on to the map.
Yeah, this is why I don't think it's pretty easy to say that Oklahoma is going to be just fine this weekend.
Yeah.
My gosh, not a good look at all. LSU, not a good look at all. That leaves us one more game in the SEC. This game in the past has always been, I think, pretty much handled by the Blue. I think Kentucky, if you go back and look at years past, Kentucky has probably handled Vanderbilt probably most years. But we're not dealing with your grandpa's Vandy, are we? We're not. This team is for real. This team is good. They've got a fantastic coach, but they also have another player that's pretty special, man. So a number 14 Vanderbilt hosted Kentucky, the Wildcats, the Fighting, I don't like the Stoops. They beat them Vandy beat them 45-17. That, my friends, is a good look.
Let me say this before I get to the overwhelming evidence of how good Vanderbilt is now compared to what we thought in our earlier years, and certainly our grandfathers before us thought. Cutter Boley continues to mature at quarterback for Kentucky. 280 yards, 2 touchdowns. He throws 2 picks, but he's continuing to work out the kinks and figure out how to play the QB position in the SEC. So hats off to you, Cutter. Good job Saturday. Nowhere near enough, but good job. Diego Pavia as the elder statesman, maybe the eldest statesman in the conference this year, shows Cutter Boley a little bit of PBS television and shows him how to get to Sesame Street as he goes for 484 yards, 5 touchdowns to 1 interception. Yes, my friends, brought to you by Breaking Chains Fitness. bc-fit.net is the website to check these guys out. Breaking Chains for Kingdom Gains. Diego Pavia looking to make some gains of his own and keep the Vanderbilt Commodores in the playoff hunt? That's right. Folks, he put 48 more yards and another touchdown on his back running the football on Saturday. Diego Pavia is your dog of the week, 45-17. And the reason I stated earlier, this game had meaning for the Vanderbilt Commodores. This keeps them holding on to that ever so outside shot that they may be included in the playoffs. Remember those years where we used to talk about would Vandy even get bowl eligibility? Folks, they're clinging to an outside shot for the playoffs for the national championship of college football. That's right. pause it, rewind it, play it again. Vanderbilt is in consideration for the playoffs of the national championship of college football. And Diego is bringing them.
Not baseball. We know they can do that. We're talking about football, man. And a couple things happen with this game, right? One, I think you're right. It's they're making their case. They are making their case. Look, man, they're 9-2. They're 9-2, and they got one game left. It's the rivalry of Tennessee. It's who's going to own the state this year. And I'm not going to make my prediction just yet. We'll wait until the forecast show. But Diego also, if you ask me, this game right here allowed him to he leaped everyone. He is now, in my opinion, your Heisman front runner. This kid is legit. He's an athlete. Yes, he's a grandfather. I understand that. He's old. I get it. He's been in the league a long time. But, and this guy's great, man. He's a great young man or old man. He's playing unbelievable football. You talk about this all the time, and we haven't said it quite as much this season as we have in the seasons prior. This kid puts his team on his back and carries them to victory. I like this team. If there could be if a couple teams lose and they win this weekend, man, if Oklahoma or Alabama loses, either one of them, and Vanderbilt beats Tennessee, they're in the playoffs, and they deserve it.
That's right.
So, look, Pavia, great job this season, man. Well, I'm glad you're a Dog of the Week. You deserve the Dog of the Week. You are the absolute perfect fit, a description of the Dog of the Week. You would fit well at Breaking Chains Fitness. When you get done playing football, you might want to call Brian Lentz up at Breaking Chains. He would probably love to have you, and maybe even maybe y'all could join a partnership and take Breaking Chains Fitness worldwide. I don't know, but you fit well in the category of Dog of the Week for sure. Great job. Wow, what a week. One more week left in college football as far as the regular season. Rivalry week is among us. It's happening.
Rivalry week. That's right.
Look, man, love us, like us, follow us, subscribe to us. We'd love to hear from you. Comment. I think we need to have some dog barks, but there's been so much to talk about. I didn't have time to fit those in, but we'd love to try to get those in next week or, later in the forecast show. We'll see. Look, Chicken, you got anything?
Jesus won, and I am all crowed out.
All right, guys. Love you. Deuces.